Not at all fail as a trainer. That's probably my job. All right. So when you look at claims, I know that's why university and like schools and stuff, they fail at keeping the students' interest just because they give you a book and tell you to read it. Hey, be great the day will be just have to watch YouTube to learn stuff at school. Or real people. Real people make it even better, you know. So when we look at claims, we need to think in terms of elements. Elements are the building blocks of a claim. It's the things of the claim. In a product claim, it'll be the physical thing, right? And then there's elements and then there's restriction. A restriction is, for example, you have an element and then you add a description about that element. That description is a restriction. It is now defining this element as this. The element used to be all of this, but now it has this description which gives it this smaller scope. So each element will usually have a description or a restriction. And then after you list the elements, you'll get to the wherein clauses. And then these are usually more restrictions, usually for the whole element, kind of overall restrictions, if that makes sense. Or it could be like in how the different elements work together. There'll be restrictions in the relationship. So as we look at this claim, let's just pick up the elements first. And you can see here, so before I do that, we are talking about a tire. Just have to scroll all the way down here to get it, but we are talking about a pneumatic tire comprising. All right, Evelyn, can you pull out the elements from this paragraph? Let's give you a pop quiz. So what does this invention, what are the elements of this invention? Yay, you got it, the main groove. We'll highlight up to here. And can you give me one more? Just in this paragraph? Making you type. What are you using? Are you on your computer or on like an iPhone? If you're on like an iPhone, I'm so sorry for making you type. So yeah, we got the main grooves here. Main groove, one or more. Using a MacBook. MacBook. I thought you were a gamer. You can't use a MacBook to game, can you? So yeah, we'll put your one or more circumferential main grooves. That's our element. Yeah, that's the spirit. You bought that tower, didn't you? And our plurality of lateral groove. So here's that second element here. But now that we've picked up these two, I want you to think about what this is. A plurality of, yeah, so what is this? Haba yeah, lateral grooves. Yeah, tread, stepping surface. That's a good literal translation. Yeah, I don't know if stepping, it's a tire, right? So let's give it a cooler name. Let's call it a tread contact surface. No worries. Like that's why you have that kanji power from your Chinese language background, right? You can just do that kanji and go, haha, it's stepping. But look how this is described. It's not described like these other elements. Then what is it? Is it an element? And what this is, well, yes, it's an element of the tire, but it's being what's called inferentially claimed, which is just a big word to say that it hasn't been specifically listed as an element. It's appeared suddenly within the description of these other elements. It hasn't been listed itself as an element. And in Japanese patents, this happens a lot. Just this, it's an element, but it's not listed as an element. So our jobs as translators, how do we solve this problem? What do we do to write an English claim which makes sense? Now, one of the things we have to keep in mind when writing claims is that as part of our job, when we're translating, we cannot translate the English into something that is bigger or smaller in scope than the Japanese. We can't change the meaning or add things or take away things that would change the scope of this claim. And because of that, I think we can't add this as an element. Like we can't just put this up the top here and go, tread, contact, surface. And then one or more grooves, formed in the. This is what, if we were drafting in English, it would look like. You put the elements, and then this element is formed in this element, which has already appeared. But because the Japanese is like this, we can't add this as an element specifically like that. It would make the scope smaller, I would say, than the original Japanese. So in this case, we just have to follow the Japanese, I think. We have to say in, thread, contact, surface. We just kind of cheat. In a thread, contact, surface, then we put these elements in. One or more circumferential main grooves, and then we put the description of the main grooves here, extending in a thread circumferential direction. Now, usually with each element here, you want to use a semicolon and line break. But because we have this overarching description, I think we just have to put a comma here and say, and a plurality of lateral grooves extending in a thread width direction. So we haven't produced a good claim in English. It suffers from this inferential claiming, but because of the Japanese here, we're limited in what we can do. So we reproduce this, and then list the elements here. We would also comment to the client saying that, look, this is inferential claiming. If you guys want to fix it at your end. I don't think as translators we can fix this. So that was a good lesson in inferential claiming. It happens so much in Japanese in the claims. All right, now let's move on. We still have some main elements left. So here we're introducing a polarity of land portion. And we can see that its description is it's formed, it's defined. Remember, we're talking about a tire here, so it's just a sheet of rubber. What a land portion is just a part of that surface. And what this is saying is that there are these grooves or these cuts in the surface, and by forming these grooves, you kind of divide out this surface into this polarity of land portion. So again, just one surface, and now it's being divided into these land portions by 1, 2, 3 elements. So first, let's get our land portion out. As it's a new element, we want to put it first, plurality of land portion. Now see here, we've got this description of the land portion. They're block-shaped. Now here there is 2 ways to add this information. You can just pop it in the front here, block-shaped land portion. And for a long time I thought this was fine. Every now and then you would get feedback saying, nah, we want you to put it back here. But the more and more I looked into it, the more and more I kind of came to agree that putting the block shape, the shape description after it is safer. The reason is because if you were to put the block shape description here, then, for example, this land portion is going to appear somewhere below, right? So when it appears for the second time, for consistency of description, because you have to just use the same wording for the element at each appearance, the second time around, you would also have to use this long description. And we don't want to have to use this each time this land portion pops up. So we're just going to put it at the back. And that way, we don't have to see it again. We don't have to use it when it appears. All right. So what is it? It is defined. I always use defined for this. It's very common in tires. You're just defining area of the surface. Defined by, it's defined by 3 elements. The main grooves. Now, this is a new element. Remember how we were talking about inferential description? Inferential description means when you include a new element in the description of another element without saying that it's a part of it. And this is what's happening in this case. You just have this new element just appearing in the description of another element. So inferential claiming. We would definitely comment on this to the client, but as translators, we just have to follow the Japanese here. So it's defined by, firstly, the one or more circumferential main grooves. Notice how this is well done here. They have the full description used here. Hang on, no, they don't. They don't have the one or more. Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Here it is. See how they have the full description used here for the second time. Consistency is well done here. It's kind of rare to see this in a Japanese claim, to see the full description, the full element, the full claimed element used in the second time. Usually you'll just see this much here, zenki, and then here. This is good, I like it. Now the second element here is our new element, thread end. Could be the thread edge. I think end is a bit more broader in meaning. And the plurality of lateral groove. Excellent. All right, so there we have it. And again, here you see the full description. Sometimes even in the Japanese claims, on the second appearance, they'll just forget to add the plurality part here. But for English, you'll always need to add it. Consistency, very important. All right, moving down. We have another element, the site. And looking at it here, this actually isn't an element, a direct element of the tire. This is saying that there's the polarity of land portions, and I'm going to say each land portion comprises at least 3 types. So it's a restriction on the land portion. So instead of this being a direct element of the invention as a whole, the tire, it's a restriction. The land portions are further restricted, saying that each land portion has at least 3 lateral types. Now I'm saying each, and each is actually a bit of a NG word, latent profanity. It's a very limiting word. If you say each, then it means every single one of these guys has to have this. Even if just one of them doesn't, then it's not protected by that. It doesn't infringe on the claims. But what's the alternative here? If we don't use each, we could say at least one of these land portions, but that's not at all what this claim is saying. If it was saying at least one, then it wouldn't be written like this. It would have specifically saying at least. So in this case, the only thing we can do is to add each, because we can't say the polarity. The polarity of land portions comprising at least 3 or more types, that's not what that means. I haven't looked at the specification, but to have this polarity of land portions and saying that they comprise at least 3, it's just the meaning starts getting weird there. This is meaning that each land portion, so the polarity of land portions each. Now, if we use each, make sure to comment. Some clients will get scared when you use each. But in this case, we need to, because it's what the Japanese mean. But again, comment, let the client know. Each comprising at least 3 lateral types. Now notice here we did add the polarity of, even though it's not in the Japanese, because as I said before, it's meaning each. It's focusing on this one or each of them. But to have it make sense in English, we need to add this. This isn't necessary to comment on, but each is important. All right, now let's go to the description. At least 3 lateral side extending. They use the same. They did. They've used computer free. Extending. So first, let's get the direction out here. We can see that there is a bit more to the description here. It's going to be going across the land. But first, let's get the extending in the tread lateral direction, because this direction has appeared up here. Width direction, tread, width direction, tread, width direction, tread, width direction. All right, so I am kind of switching between width and lateral. Might switch them all to lateral. Tread, lateral direction. So I'm using lateral grooves. Probably best to put this as lateral direction. Tread, lateral direction. Now this is going to be tricky, because what this is saying is that in each land portion, there's at least 3 sites, and each of these sites goes across the land portion that they're provided in. So can you get it? So if you just look at the Japanese, it's pretty easy, right? Like there's one land portion. And in that land portion, it's got a sipe, it's got 3 sipes, and each of them cut across that one land portion. But in English, we have to have that consistency of expression. So we're saying that the plurality of land portion each comprise at least 3 sipes. So we haven't focused on this one land portion. So to describe this is going to be very hard. And I don't know, we might have to restate this. Just hang with me, guys. I'm not sure how this is going to end. So I'll restate the lateral sipes, extending through. Penetrating, I don't like. I think extending through. I think you have to put through. Extending across, I don't think means you get all the way through. Extending through, and see, we can't just put land portion here because this has an element. Cutting across is good too. Like it's a sipe, it's a groove, so it is just a cut. So cutting across is totally fine too. If you want to maybe make it closer to the Japanese, yeah. Extending might be a bit broader, but cutting through is definitely fine, yeah. But they extend through that land portion that they're provided in. But how do we say that? Because in the English, all we have to go with is this plurality of land portion. This is going to be true. And through, we do have each here. So I guess in that, because we've used each, we are inferring that there is a land portion. So we are focusing on each land portion, and saying that it comprises. But I don't think that's enough here to say through the land portion. Because what is this referring to? It's referring to we can just each of the polarity. This could work. Let's just check. So we have the polarity of land portion, each comprising at least three lateral sipes. These lateral sipes extend through each of the polarity of land portion. This might be our workaround. Is it correct? 3 sipes. Okay. Yeah, I think this works. A bit worried there for a while how we would come back to the singular for the land portions. But I think each works here. Would we have to put the here in front of each to give this dependency on this description? No, you think it's just better like that? I agree. We could get really weird and go each of the this could work. But yeah, I agree. I don't think we need to make it sound weird like that. Let's go with this. Comprising the 3 lateral sipes extending through each of the polarity land portion. Okay. Now we have added a lot here. So comment to the clients. But in order to get this meaning into English, I think we have to go this far. But again, cover your bases. Comment. Always comment. All right, how far have we gotten? There's still a bit to go. Might make this the last paragraph. It's nearly 11. Might stop at 11 tonight. All right, so I think these are the wherein claims. You can see it kind of stops here. Hang on. Down here we have another element. All right, let's just, so it looks like at the very beginning of this paragraph, we have a previously listed element. Yeah, this one down here. Just trying to see how far it goes. Like, it could be saying that this comprises this. It's going to take me a little while to understand this. So we have the lateral sipes. The lateral sipes are the 3 in each land portion, right? We have these land portions, 3 sipes. And now it's redefining these 3 sipes as a first sipe, second sipe, and I guess a third sipe, because it is at least 3. So you'll always have the first, you'll always have the second, and then you could have one or more of this intermediate sipe. All right. So I think that is one block of meaning. Yes, I agree. So let's put the where in here, because now we're getting into further restrictions of previously introduced elements. So we could, instead of using wherein, we could add another restriction here to this 3 lateral sipes. But yeah, that's not what we should do. I'm going to put where in here, and now we can translate this part. So it's redefining, it's defining these sipes, the lateral sipes, hang on, you have to go at least 3 lateral sipes. Or at least 3 lateral sipes. Now it's using karanaru at the end here, which is like a comprising, including. That's what it means. And in English as well, even though we're redefining this, right? Like we're saying we've got 3 or more here, we're going to call this one 1, this one 2, this one 3. Even in this case, we can use comprise. And it sounds weird because it's not a part of this, it's just sort of redefining it. Even this situation, comprise. Comprise and include, they're like magic words. They make everything better. The at least 3 comprise our first sipe. Let me do this. A second sipe. And at least 1 in, let's go middle sipe. Now, what do you think about this approach? In a claim, list the elements 1, 2, 3, then go back to them. The first sipe is being located. So it's on located furthest to one side in this circumferential direction. See, we could list the descriptions after introducing the 1, 2, 3, or we could just put the description right after. I think they're not too long, so we can just stick them directly after, I think. Comprise a first type that is located. We don't need that is. First type located furthest, furthest to one side in the tread circumferential direction. You like farthest? What is the rule? If it's distance, I guess it's farthest. Furthest. Yeah. I must admit, I think I always use further, the U. It is distance. Okay. Nice. Farthest to one side in the tread circumferential direction. In my head, I was thinking that these would be, you have the land portion. Okay, and then you have the sipes coming this way. So I guess, yeah, furthest to one side in this circumferential direction. Yeah, that works. And our second sipe located farthest to the other side in the tread circumferential direction. Now here's a problem that we often face as translators. You got ippo and taho. And you can see here that as I was translating, I translated it as one side and the other side. Did I put an N? Thank you. Nice. Yay! So Evelyn, you've got all the answers tonight. You're right. You're 100% right. We don't like this one side and other side. Let's do that. Furthest to our first side. And furthest to our second side. You remembered? Yeah. It's important. It's important. And as translators, we're able to make that change, even though it's not directly in the Japanese. Because we need to. In English, we need to keep that the antecedent rule, tightly. We have to protect it. Protect it, even though the Japanese people are a little bit looser with their writing. So excellent. So we have the first sipe and the second sipe. Now we have our, and at least, I'm going to call it a middle sipe. And it is located between the first sipe and the second. Lovely. All right. We got through a lot there. Now it is 11 o'clock. I am going to be closing up shop. But yeah, that was great. There was lots of good tips in there. And thank you, Evelyn, for mentioning that my mic wasn't on. Would have been a great stream without you. So yeah, good luck with your work, Evelyn. Don't work too hard. We got to have a game night. We got to find a game we can all play together so we can catch up. Yeah, keep in touch. All right. I am out of here. Thank you for joining me. Bye bye. Dinner, yes.